A student of mine from the States travelled down here to the golf projects for a golf lesson to come and see me because he was really struggling with getting that downswing move right. He was thinking of too many thoughts in his golf swing, especially that first move, that transition phase in the downswing. When do I need to start turning my hips? When do I need to start adding this pressure into the ground and get those ground reaction forces working? When do I need to fire all the hips on the way through? When do I need to get this chest working towards the target? And when I noticed why he was struggling so much with starting that transition phase of his downswing, and we managed to make the necessary changes, we noticed mega results. Much straighter, much further golf shots. So for those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Harry, PJ Golf Professional, transforming golfers worldwide from the golf projects. And by all means, drop a comment down below the tips or drills video topic you'd like me to cover in the next video. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner if you do enjoy this video and take on board what I've mentioned. It helps me grow the community, and I'm also posting content just like this to help you improve your golf every Tuesday and Friday. So to begin with, I watched my student hit a couple of shots to warm up during the lesson, and we were noticing a couple to the left, a couple to the right, and when I looked at the analysis, I really liked the backswing. We were getting the club face in a really nice position here. We're working it all the way up to the top of the swing in a lovely position, controlled position, with the lead arm covering the right shoulder at the top of the backswing like this here. I like to speak about the club going over the right shoulder, and he had all those things. There was one thing though that was just not quite there, and it was the trail arm position. What he was doing, he was getting to the top of his swing, and what we started to notice was because he had limited shoulder mobility, he was flaring this right elbow out very far away from us, like this here. In terms of positioning of the lead arm and where the club is, absolutely spot on in the golf swing. But the right elbow was very flared out like this here. What was happening then in the downswing when he was thinking about trying to get this hip turn, this pressure taking place into the downswing? The problem was when we get this move here with the lower body, with this trail arm very much flared out and away from us like this, we end up getting too stuck. And you can see here how stuck this trail arm is now in this position here. It's well behind us, and the only way we can hit the ball from there now is use our arms, this very much again trail arm, to early, what we call extend, to straighten up very early to try and square up the face at impact and hit some sort of straight golf shot, affecting the strike, the loft presented at impact, and therefore the consistency side of things as well. And this is what it all came down to as well. All these thoughts he had in his head. Why can't he get those hips out of the way in time? Why can't he get this pressure being transferred onto the lead side in time before we make contact with that golf ball? Well, those weren't going to work if he was going to struggle with this trail arm position here. So from there, I got him doing two tests. The first test was the shoulder mobility test. So just simply take a club away from you, and I want you to do this right now if you're watching this in your living room at home, and just simply place your lead arm, so for right-handed golfers going to be your left arm, just on your chest like so. I want you to place your right arm in this position here. So we're on a 90-degree angle. We folded our right arm on this 90-degree angle like this, very much parallel to the ground, set in this position nice and straight here. And the aim of this now is to get this right arm moving as far away from us as we can. So I can only go to this point here. I can just get to straight, but that really is sore for me to do that, and you can see my elbow is starting to move. Well, what my student was doing, he was only getting to this point here. So when he was getting to that, he was struggling to go any more than this position here. So the only way for him to be able to get that right arm in some sort of position at the top of the golf swing was to flare this right elbow out. The second test we did was called the disassociation test. I've spoken about this in a few of my videos in the past, and what we did was we got his hands across his shoulders like this, and all I told him to do was to see if he can get the hips moving without moving the upper body. So if you watch this here now, I'm just going to move my lower body whilst keeping my shoulders nice and still. So he struggled a little bit with this. We noticed sometimes there's a little bit of movement taking place with both the upper body and the lower body, almost like they're more connected, as opposed to getting this very much so separation between the two. And they're the two reasons why he was suffering with getting that rotation on the way through. If he fires those hips out the way, forgetting where the trail arm position is for a moment, but he was firing those hips out the way, well, at some point his body's going to stop for the arms and upper body to catch up and then eventually hit that golf ball, because he struggles to get this disassociation taking place between the lower and upper body in his golf swing. So they're the two tests. The shoulder mobility test is obviously the reason why we're getting this flared arm here, and then eventually we're struggling to get that rotation, the downswing, because of this disassociation test. He struggles to get this separation between the lower and the upper body to take place. And that brings us on to the drill. The simple drill that you can do right now to stop those things from being faults in your golf game and use these to your advantage. All swings are different, so let's use these two aspects in your game to your advantage. And all I got my student doing was, from the top of the swing, I said to him, we've got to get the upper body and the lower body to work at the right points. The aim was to try and get this trail arm back set, connected to the body. Obviously from this position here, it's very disconnected. I told him to imagine that there's a towel that's just appeared all of a sudden from the top of the swing. The first move you've got to do is you've got to catch the towel. You've got to catch this towel, imagining that the towel is almost just in front of the right pec, as opposed to very much on the side of the body, sort of almost in front here. So we're not trying to catch this towel here, we're trying to catch the towel here. You can see that I'm creating this crease, this tension between my right pec and my trail arm. So when I do this with two hands, just simply up to the top, catch the towel, that got him set in this lovely position now to get everything connected, everything working as one, to be able to get this rotation taking place and squaring up the face more efficiently at impact. So when you start getting used to this move, all you want to do is start doing this in stages. Don't work your way up into a full swing doing this. So start off with just making a couple of nice slow swings up to the top, catch the towel, and just make a nice smooth 3/4 swing up, catch the towel on the way through. Wasn't the best of strikes because I'm just really exaggerating this feel. Once you start to work your way up into full swings, I'd recommend beginning with something like your 3/4 swing at around 50% of how fast you'd usually swing it, and then work your way up to around 80-90%, and then you can start to build this into the full swing. But once you get into that full swing, you'll begin to notice how much easier it is to get that club into this so-called slot that we're after in that downswing phase. So then after taking a few swings, having a few practice shots doing this, we wanted to have a look at the longer clubs, especially one in particular being the driver. When should we be thinking, right, catch the towel and then get that rotation taking place in your golf swing? There isn't a lot of difference between the irons and the driver. This is all about timing and keeping that tempo through the golf swing. So I told my student just to begin with the driver, just to think simply about catching that towel on the downswing. And what we noticed was, I'll just hit a shot for you now before I just explain what was taking place. And obviously we're going to be doing this very slow with the driver just to begin with. And this is something I want you to look out for as well. So that wasn't great at all. And that's what we noticed. We noticed a few of them going too low. Obviously that can be due to the reduction in speed taking place when practicing this, but there was something else. If you watch that video just then now, I understand that's a little bit blurry when I put this in slow-mo, but just give that a watch whilst I'm getting this tee and ball. What do you see? The trail arm, yes, has caught this imaginary towel underneath the armpits, but where? It's caught it at this point here, as opposed to getting this arm almost feeling like it's back out in front of us. With the irons, remember, we want to be catching the towel almost in front of us as opposed to behind us here. The reason was because as soon as we get to the top, with a bigger club, the intention is going to be quicker just because we're using a much bigger, longer club. So from the top of the swing, when I said just think about this movement here, he was struggling with this because what was happening from there was he was trying to catch the towel, but not realizing he was getting this shifting motion to take place in the downswing, trying to fire this hip out the way. What I eventually had to say to him was, right, okay, well, we're going to add in something else. We've got to be making sure it's catching that towel into this slot here so we can then allow everything just to turn through naturally, as opposed to getting too stuck again and then having to get the hands involved. And with the driver, when we get the hands involved and get this release taking place, early release, you can see it close off the face, but it also reduces the loft, hence for the low shot. So there's one final move I want you to do, and this works with the irons nicely as well. All you're going to do is just take the driver away for now, and I just want you to take your hands and simply place them across your chest, just like we did before with the disassociation test. So the first initial move I want you to feel in the downswing is once you set the club to the top of the swing, is you're going to feel like you're keeping the pressure into the trail side of the body. And when I say the pressure, imagine obviously at the start it's 50-50 weight distribution, 50% in each foot of course. Then we're turning to the top of the swing. The pressure is going to be transferred a little bit into this trail side of the body as we're rotating into the top of the backswing. But then from there, rather than the first move being right, I need to get this weight transferring onto the lead side of the body. Because we're adding the pressure in this direction now, we're more likely to have to end up jumping back up this way due to ground reaction forces. I speak a lot more about ground reaction force and how they work in this video over here. You don't need to click it just yet. I'll add it at the very end of the video so you can click onto that and check that out after this one. So instead, what I got my student doing was turning up to the top of the swing and just maintaining this pressure on the trail side of the body. And you can see for me to feel like I'm maintaining this pressure on the trail side, I've done a little squatting motion. I'm pressing down into the ground like this here to really encourage this pressure to take place, to be maintained on this trail side of the body. Now, this is going to do two benefits for you. Number one is simply, as we're doing this motion here, adding and keeping this pressure into the trail side of the body to begin that downswing, catch the towel, that's going to set us up in this slot now to be able to just get everything working our way through to finish. And the second one, very similar to what I've just mentioned there, working our way up to the finish position, is those ground reaction forces, okay? So if we're going to be adding this pressure too much too early onto this lead side, we're going to get the opposite reaction taking place going away. So we want to see the opposite, how we get this weight transfer taking place in the downswing. And this is what one of the things my student said he was really suffering with. Keeping the pressure here, the intention now is to push off that foot. So we're going to be working all the pressure and transferring all the pressure onto the lead side of the body in the correct motion. So once we've got this setting with this trail arm here and getting this pressure working and staying into the trail side of the body, what is the next move? Well, we're just simply pushing off this right foot here. Imagine you're doing a jump. If you were to go up, you would go down first. You are squatting down to jump up. And it's same applies in the golf swing. We're just rotating as well. We're just turning into the top of the swing, adding this pressure. Obviously, we're going to get that slot with the club, but I'll show you that in just a sec. We're getting this move here, and then we're pushing upwards and away from the golf ball towards the target. And you can see that's allowing me to really open my hips, open my shoulders, really get this chest working towards the target like this here, as opposed to firing those hips too early and then end up moving away from the golf ball and off the golf ball too. So to simplify things, when we get to the top of the swing, we can think about these two moves at the same time. We're working up to the top of the swing, we're feeling this pressure being maintained in the trail side, and we're catching that towel. So you can see there I'm dipping a little bit in height, and I don't want you worrying about this because we're going to get this height back as we start to push off this trail foot, working our way through to the target. But all I'm just doing here is I'm just bringing these two thoughts into one to keep things nice and simple for you. And I did this with my student. He was thinking, well, I don't want to even think about two things. And I said, that's absolutely fine. Just do the two at the same time. It's catch towel, add pressure. Just have that thought as one as opposed to two separate thoughts, because you're doing the two at the same time. So up to the top, doing those two movements at the same time. And then for the final move, we're just swinging up. We're pushing off this right foot here, working our way up and through to finish. Everything else from this position here all the way through will take care of itself, because you've set the club in this beautiful position here to then just rotate, push upwards from the ground and see that square club face, feel that center strike and see much further golf shots. So we're just going to hit one now, just with the iron, nice and slow. So it's up A little bit to the right, but it felt like a good strike. Felt like I just got the lower body working too quickly out the way, which caused me then to get a little bit stuck on this side here because I was getting too much speed coming from the inside. I just ended up leaving that club face a little bit open. That's all that was. So let's try the driver now. So driver, bigger tee of course, same motion, and we're just trying to give ourselves a little bit more time, almost delaying the downswing just by getting those two moves to take place. So we're getting the pressure staying on this trail side here by squatting down a touch, then we're catching that towel, and from there we can just push off from the trail side, working away up to finish. With the driver you can really exaggerate that push off movement because we want to be hitting up on the ball. So here we go. Last shot, pressure's on. See if I can do it. A bit to the right again. Again, it was a really nice strike. I was quite gutted with that one, but that did feel like I got a little bit stuck there. Again, that is something I am actually currently working on in my own game as well. Sometimes I do get a little bit stuck, fire the hips a little bit early, hence for those two outcomes there. If you've come this far, you may as well give these tips a try out on the driving range, and don't forget to comment down below afterwards to let me know how you get on from taking these tips on board. And as I mentioned earlier, you can check out a little bit more on this video here about how the ground reaction forces should work. Hit the subscribe button as it helps me grow the community and gives me more flexibility to post videos like this every single week to help you transform your golf game. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.